Welcome to the Whisk Web training video series. In this video, we're going to talk about how to create or edit content that you are adding to your site. In your website, when you are logged in and you are looking at your dashboard screen, most, if not all, of the content entry that you're going to do occurs over here on the left side. Now, there may be a number of plugins that you have access to, such as WP Data Tables or Gravity Forms or the Events Calendar. All those things will appear over here. You also see posts, document pages, faculty, staff members, things of that nature. Now, content can be created in a number of different areas, but at the end, most of that content is going to appear via pages. So to access your pages, you would click on Pages here on the left. When you do that, you will see the full list of pages that will appear within your site, and you can access them by clicking on one of those page titles to edit it, update it, anything you might need to do there. To add a new page, you simply need to click on the Add New button at the top here. Now, when this happens, you will see the new page, page appear on here with a lot of different pieces of information on it. We're going to kind of go through what some of these things are and then talk a little bit about what happens as you are building your page out. But this is usually where the bulk of your content creation and content delivery is going to occur. So the first thing that you are prompted for is the page title. Now, the page title serves several purposes. First is it defines what the expected content is going to be on this particular page. So in this case, at the grad school site, I am looking at the diversity page. The diversity page title is applied right there, and that sets the expectation of what I, as a user of this site, is going to what I am going to read on this particular page. Now, you want to make sure that you are very pointed with your page titles because you do want to create that expectation of what a person is going to read about when they get to a particular page. Second thing that the page title does is it defines what the browser tab or browser window value is up here at the top. Um, Again, this is important just from a standpoint of if you have a number of pages open, a number of sites open, and you want a person to be able to easily get back to your page, you just want to make sure that you title it very appropriately so that people can get access to it. And then lastly, um, very important but not as obvious, the page title also defines what the URL or the permalink value is. And that permalink value will help you for a number of things. Most pointedly, really, it's going to help with search engine optimization functionality. These things can become search terms. So the more pointed you are with those particular page titles, the easier it will be for someone to find your site if they go out to whisk.edu or to Google and do some searches that way. So again, page title, you want to just give it something that is appropriate. I will call mine Yeti hunting. Below that, you have the ability to change the default page layout on your new page to one of these three two-column layout options. And so you can see there's a two-column 60/40, a two-column 40/60, and a two-column 50/50. And the column layouts are uh, different ways for you to define or to deliver your content to your audience. So the default is this one column layout, looks similar to this. It's just, one column of text on a page. You can kind of see this is the way that the one column layout looks. There is the two column layout, and you have the three options. This is a two column 50/50 right here. You can see there is the 50/50 split between the content here. There's also a 60/40. This is what the 60/40 looks like. Left side is a little bit wider, right side is just a little bit thinner. And then there's also a 40/60 option. And I don't have a 40/60 option to show you at the moment, but just imagine this flipped, and that would be the 40/60. Now, the reason why you want to take a look at this and sort of plot this out a little bit is because in a mobile device, when you're using a multi-column layout, the leftmost column will stack first on mobile devices. And you can kind of see here as I'm tinkering around with this window size, that leftmost column stacks first, and then there's that rightmost column, that menu that appears there. So it's just a layout consideration that you want to make as you are building out your pages. You can also do this on the fly by going down to the bottom of the content area and clicking on the Add Content Layout button there, and you can add 1, 2, or a 3-column layout there. You can also do this by clicking on the plus sign right here, and it will prompt you there as well. So just be aware of the fact that you do have the ability to change this from the default one to one of those 2-column layouts up here at the top. This goes away the first time you save or publish your page. The next value down is the upper content area, and the upper content area has one option in it when you click on Add Upper Content, and that is the hero image carousel. When you click on that, you get all of this various dialogue regarding the hero area. The hero area is, if you go out to our wiscweb.wisc.edu service page and click on features and then the hero content area, the hero content area is this big banner image that appears at the top of a page. It's meant to be sort of like an introductory or welcome image, an image to sort of help you introduce what the content of your site is or the content of a particular page is going to be. It is not a requirement, however, so just be aware of that fact. Now, because it is a very large image, because it is a very large image, you want to make sure that you start with an image that is also large. So in the dialog area, it does tell you what those dimensions should be. It is 1600 pixels wide by 500 pixels high. You want to make sure that you choose an image that's at least that big, because what happens is it will fill this space appropriately, and we'll get into images that are larger than that in a second. But the issue with an image that is smaller than that 1600 pixels wide by 500 pixels high is if the image is not large enough, it will try its best to fill this 1600 wide space. So it will stretch the image to meet this width. Now, once it stretches to meet the width, it's also going to stretch the height to fill that required width area. So essentially it's going to try and keep the image square. So now what's going to happen is you're going to have a hero image that's not only not the appropriate size, and it's probably going to end up pretty pixelated with the quality of the image, but also this hero area is going to stretch from being this wide and this high to this wide and maybe down to here instead. So you want to make sure that you're using the appropriately sized images so that you don't run into any sort of, I guess, image quality issues there. Now the hero area can be a single image. If you click on the little slider here, this is what a hero carousel looks like. Is it will have these sliders in it. So the hero image can also have a headline or a caption for your audience to read. That caption or headline area can have a link. So this could be a linked item right here. And then lastly, there's another sort of caption area, but this is called the featured content inset. It's more of like this, um, an additional image, picture within a picture idea, or, you can also have this not have any text or any image in it and just have it be text. And this is what it would look like with just text in the featured content inset option right there. So back to my page editing area, I'm going to click on Add Image, again, into the media library. So you can choose one of these images. I'm going to choose this one right here, which is the Lincoln statue in front of Bascom Hall. You'll see we've got the various pieces of information. Now what you'll notice here is in the dimensions, it is larger than that 1600 by 500 requirement. And so what happens within the UW theme is the image will be centered and then the top and the bottom of the image will be automatically cropped to fit that 500 height um, requirement. So just be aware of that when you are choosing images. I have another training video available that teaches you how to use Photoshop to crop your images down. So be sure to take a look for that as well if you want to learn how to edit your images down a little bit to not have any um, poor cropping instances occur. So another thing to be aware of when you are putting images on your website is this alt text field. Now the alt text field is an accessibility requirement at UW-Madison. For any image that you put on your wisc.edu site, you must attend to this alt text field. Now, the alt text field is meant to be a descriptor of the content or action within the image, and it kind of tells you right here what you're needing to do. So describe the purpose of the image. If the image is decorative, you don't need to put any alt text into there, but just be aware of the fact that the vast majority of your images are not going to be decorative, so you need to put some sort of value in here that describes the image. So in this case, it's pretty straightforward, so I'm going to do Lincoln statue in front of Bascom Hall. I don't need to attend to any of these others. We'll talk about these in a little bit here. But now I'm going to click select. And I'll get a little preview of what my hero image is going to look like, but I'd rather look at it in its full, site view. So if I go up here to the upper right, I'm going to click Save Draft. I'm going to save this page as a draft. It's not yet live, but what it does is it does save it and apply my URL or permalink value there. And now I can preview it by clicking on that button right there. And now I get a good look at what my hero image would look like on this particular page. So looks good. I'm okay with that. I'm going to leave this open because I'm going to bounce back and forth between editing and previewing. So now we have added the single image. Let's go ahead down here to the hero layout section and let's try the next value up, which is the headline area. So when you click on the headline area, you're going to get several more options to choose from. Adding a link, we'll do that in a second. Editing the headline text, we'll also do that in a second. But you can also automatically link um, to your pages or to your posts within your site by clicking on this little slider right here. You would then get an option to choose what item you want to link this to. So you would just have to choose that one. Now what you'll notice is you don't get the option to set the headline text or the caption text. And that's because the the caption, the headline, is being pulled from a field called the excerpt field on this particular page. And what the excerpt field does is it takes the initial text that you have entered on a page or a post, and it will apply that as kind of like the summary value. So for example, if I just go down here and I just type in some information, this would become the excerpt value down there. So I'm going to click Save Draft real quick. And if I were to publish it, that would become that. So this becomes the default excerpt, and it will always default to the first amount of text that is um, on your page. Now, what you'll notice is there is an excerpt field down here, but it is empty. And that is because the UW theme, as of a recent release, will automatically grab this text as the excerpt of a particular page for any new pages that you create. However, for existing pages, this excerpt field will likely be filled out or populated by some particular value. So if I go over to our WhiskWeb hero image page and I click on edit page up here at the top, I'll scroll on down to the bottom and you'll see here is the excerpt for this particular page. And it just grabbed this bit of text up here. So you can kind of see what's up here is what's represented down here. And so this was the first stuff that we put on this page, saved it, it automatically put it down here, and now it's applied. But that's because this page was created before that particular theme update. So that's the difference between old pages versus new pages. New pages, nothing will appear down here because it's automatically grabbing this. Now, if this isn't what you feel like the summary of this particular page should be, you can go down to your excerpt and then manually update this to be a more appropriate summary of the content of the page. So that's what the excerpt is meant to be. It's meant to be a summary of the content of the page because this will in turn define a view page. This, if I choose to link this to an internal page, it also defines or helps define, I should say, not specifically defines, but it also helps define what the Google search engine results will be for each particular page. So you want to make sure that you are appropriating them. So here we can see one that we should address, which is the contacts page. This is an old page, so you can see that it grabbed some initial, this looks like accordion panel content right there. So I would reach out to the graduate school and I would let them know that they should probably look to update this to be more appropriate for that content right there. So that's something to just point out in regards to using this particular autofill inset value. And it's important to address this for any and all pages that you create. However, if you don't want to use the manual or the automatic option, you can leave this as manual and you can, just going to grab some general Latin text over here and just paste that in. You know, you can just copy and paste in something or type something into there if you wanted to. And then we'll go ahead and get this out of the way. We'll click on the slider for add a link. The link title or call to action is the actual linked text. So in this case, it's this value that you see right here. So click here to visit UW-Madison's homepage. And then in here, I would type in the full HTTPS or HTTP:// and leave that as the URL there. So now what I can do is to check this out, click Save Draft, click Preview, back on over to our Preview tab right here. Here's the headline value, and then here's the link. And if I click on that, it takes me right there. So I will click back on that. And then back into my Edit tab. And then lastly, there's the featured content inset. So what featured content inset does is it allows you to, again, enter some inset text into here. I will just paste in that text that I already had. The add a link option stays the same. The link title and URL is in there. And then you do get an option to add an image. Again, this is not a required value, so you don't have to. I will put something into there. We'll go with the flamingos for Fill the Hill. And then click, oh, wait, make sure that we add some alt text. And then click select. And there you'll see save draft and preview. And there you'll kind of see what it looks like right there. So it's kind of a nice little way to maybe add some additional information with an additional image in there for your featured content inset. So that's the hero area specifically. You can add additional hero images by clicking on this blue add image carousel. And then it's all of the same options that we've already talked about. You click add image, you choose an image, you add your alt text, click select. And then I'm just going to leave this as a single image. And then we've already seen what the carousel looks like. This is what the carousel does. You click it back and forth. It does not automatically advance. That is not a function of the UW theme. That is an accessibility and design user experience choice that was made by our developers. So just be aware of the fact that that's the way that that works. So I'm going to zoom way out just so we can kind of see this real quick. So this it gets added in the order that you add them. If you want to reorder these hero images, there's this numbered column over here on the far left. I'll zoom in quick just so you can see it. So there's the 1, there's the 2, 3, 4, etc. I will zoom back out to give myself some room, and you can drag and drop these to reorder them as you see fit. Now, if you have a number of hero images that you want to display, but you don't particularly care what order that they are appearing in, you can also click this checkbox at the top that is the randomize the slide order. Um, Now, I say that with a bit of caution to it because you don't want to overwhelm your audience with too many hero images. A couple, three maybe at the top or at the maximum. Don't get into the 5, 6 double digit hero image range for a couple of reasons. One, that's a lot of stuff to load on a page. The more stuff that you have to load, the more data that you have to load, the more likely it is that either your page is going to take too long to load, or there may be issues with it not being able to save because there's just too much data trying to be processed when you try to click publish or update eventually when we get to there. So just try to keep this at a minimum, 2, maybe 3. Don't overwhelm them. There are better ways to display multiple images when you want people to be able to see multiple images. The hero image is good for initial welcoming and introduction, but we can use different page elements to try to get rid of or to try to display those types of information. To remove hero images, there's just a little minus sign over here on the far right, so you could click that to remove the images as you see fit. Now, I'm done with the hero area, so what I can do with the UW theme is I can collapse this by clicking on this little up arrow right here to toggle it, and now I can get down into my actual content. So, as I said, the default for your page is a one column layout. When you have a one column layout defaulted in, you have a text block already added to it. So this is your text block. It's a text editor. Don't overthink it. You've used these many times. You type in it, you bold, you italicize. We'll go through what these values are right here, but don't overthink it. It's not anything to be overwhelming. You just type. That's essentially it. So I am going to go ahead and paste in just this, generic placeholder text that I have, and we'll kind of talk through what some of these options are here. So this drop down right here allows you to change between the default paragraph text and then the various heading options that you have access to. You have heading 2 through 6 there, as you can see. You can highlight some text. So if I just click here and just do this and highlight it, and I can do heading 3 right there, or I can change it to heading 2 right there. So for that, so just to kind of show you with that, and I'll just click on over here. Um, so you'll notice this right here. Heading 1 is not an option that is available, and that is because heading 1 is used for the page title. Um, modern web design, web design asks that you use one heading 1 on a page. Now that's up for debate, but it's something that we kind of encourage people to do is to use one heading 1 on the page, which is the title, and then break your page up if necessary into sections by using heading 2, heading 3, etc. Because what it does is it does two things for you from an accessibility standpoint. One, from a visual accessibility standpoint, you create this sort of hierarchy of content. So important update, update part 1, and I can highlight that and I can make that heading 3, and then I can go down here, update part 2, make that also heading 3, and then once that's done, I can go down here and I can say, next section information. And now that can go back up to heading 2. So save draft, preview. And so you can see I've created sort of a visual, oh, here's this section, here's subsection 1, here's subsection 2, here's the next section. So I create a visual layout to my page or to my site. Also, from a standpoint of accessibility for non-visual users of your site, if someone's using software, a screen reader software, they might be trying to find those H2 tags, those heading 2 values, and so they would want to use those to find those sections within your page. You don't want to nest these out of order, so I don't want to have heading 3 be this part and then heading 2 be a subsection value, because that may throw off people who can't see the way that you have laid this page out. So something to think about as you are building out your page and using these values right here. Next to that, you have bold, italics, bulleted list, and numbered list. You should be very familiar with these. They're similar to what you would use in other word processing applications. This next icon over is called the block quote tag, and what this one does is, and I'm just going to put in a little more of my placeholder text here so I have some more to use, but I'm going to highlight this little block of text right here. I'm going to click on the block quote tag. You'll see nothing real significant happens. It just indents it a little bit, and uh, that's basically it. But if I go out to save draft and I click on preview, this is how it is styled when it lands on the page. So you'll see that it does indent it a little bit, adds this little red line here, and it italicizes it. So the block quote tag, block quote text, is meant to sort of call attention to or call out particular blocks of text that you think should have a little more emphasis on them. It's not meant to be overused, so you don't want to use this too much because, well, one, if a lot of things are important, what's the most important thing? There are other ways to highlight like list items of importance rather than just using the block quote. This one's just nice to call out on a page this one piece of information that is very important for you to pay attention to. And then secondly, from a user experience standpoint, this is all italicized. You don't want to have lots of blocks of text that are italicized because it could be difficult for many users to read at length. So you don't want to frustrate your audience. You want to keep it as easy as possible for them to read this content. So something to think about when using the text editor here. Just gonna down. Next to that, we have the align left, the align center, and the align right options. These are pretty straightforward. You have your linking option right here, which we will get into a little bit more in a second here. The insert read more tag, what it does in the text editor area is it adds a just a little um, value right there. Now, it doesn't actually do anything in particular within the UW theme. So if I click save draft and then we click preview, you'll see nothing significant happens there. It's a function of WordPress, but within the UW theme, this will not do anything specific for you. So it's not anything that you need to be used, that you need to worry about using, but it is there, so you just need to be aware of the fact that it doesn't do anything. Let me delete that out. Next to that, you have a full screen option. This just gets rid of all of the other stuff on your page and just shows you the text editor proper. It's a toggle, so go ahead and click it off to get back to there. Next to that, you have a toolbar toggle value. So by default, there is a second row of formatting options that do not appear until you click this toolbar toggle. Once you click that, you'll see that they are now visible. And then down there, you have your strike through option, your horizontal line. The horizontal line is just kind of a this bar that goes across the page. Next to that, you have the paste as text option. So the paste as text option is important because what it does is it allows you to copy and paste from um, external sources, I'll say. So things like Microsoft Word, Adobe PDF, other websites. When you copy content from those other sources, the potential is there for you to also copy the formatting that will come with those external sources. So things like changes to font colors, changes to fonts themselves, background colors, link values, things like that. That kind of stuff is coded in the background. But when you copy and paste, when you paste that in, it will also dump that into this particular section. So what you want to do is you want to copy from those external sources, but then click on the toggle for paste as text. You'll get a little warning here that says, this is now happening. I'm going to get rid of that. And then you can come in here and just paste what you need to paste, and it will strip out all of that additional formatting. And just for your own purview, if you look down here, this is the code, or this is the stuff that I just pasted in, and there's no code associated with it. Now, it's a toggle, so you have to turn it on. Didn't mean to do that. And then off. Now, next to that is a clear formatting option. Now, the difference between these two is this is meant to remove any formatting that is external to the text editor. This is meant to remove any formatting that is internal to the text editor. Essentially, what that means is this wouldn't be able to clear any formatting that got pasted in. This can only clear formatting that is something that is done within the text editor proper. So something that I might bold and italicize, this would work for that. So next to that, you have this special character icon, this Omega character. If you click on that, it's just a little layover item that will allow you to create these various symbols if you need to. Next to that, you have your indent options, and then you have your undo and your redo. So again, it's a text editor. It's pretty straightforward. It's not meant to be too overwhelming. So two of the primary things that you're going to do out of a text editor is you're going to link to things, link to other pages, link to other websites, link to images if it might be that. Anything of that nature, you will create links to, and then you'll also place images. So the first thing that we'll touch on is how do you create links. So the first thing that you need to do when you are creating a link is you need to determine what is going to be the linked text or the anchored item that you're going to link from. So you highlight that text and then you click on the insert or edit link icon right there. Now this little pop-up will show up and it basically tells you what you need to do. You paste in the URL or type in the URL if you need to. So if it's an external um, link, you can just type in the full URL or paste in the full URL if you have that. So that's an external link. For an internal link, it says type to search. So now what I can do is I can just type in a keyword. Um, let's see, sample. Let's try new. Sample page is showing up for both of those. So I'll type in blog. And you'll see that anything that meets that search criteria, either on page or in the page title, will show up in that little list. And then all you need to do is click on that value to apply it. Now I can hit enter or click the little blue button there to apply this link, but there's also another option over here at the right, or another icon over here at the right, which is the link option. So if you click on that, you will get the full list of your site. So you can see I have 3 pages and I have a post in there. I can change the URL if I so desire. I can change the linked text, and I will get back to this in a second. I can click and search for things. So if I wanted to find everything that was titled page, I could type that in. You can see that that changed there. And then lastly, there's the option to open link in a new tab. So by default, the UW theme opens all links within the window that it is clicked in. This is an accessibility choice and a user experience choice. You've undoubtedly been to websites where you click on a link and it opens it in a brand new tab or a brand new window. This is not the recommended behavior for your website for a couple of reasons. One, this would create a number of new tabs that might be, um, it might frustrate or irritate your users because they only want to have the one window open. They don't want to have to go between um, a number of tabs to find the content that they're looking for. And also, from an accessibility standpoint, not all users are able to easily identify or to use new tabs as they are opening up. So keeping things within the individual window that you are in is easier on your audience. Now, that being said, the option is there for you to do. So what you would want to do in this case is make sure that you identify that something will happen so that you don't spring something on your audience that maybe they didn't want or didn't anticipate. So that is how you create links to internal pages or internal content items as well as external pages or external sites. The other thing that you would want to be aware of is how do you create links to documents. So documents are handled within WordPress similar to media items, similar to your pictures. So for a document, you would want to put your cursor where you want that document link to appear. You would click on the Add Media button right there. Now we can see the full media library, and in there is this little guy right here. And so this is just a generic document that I had put up into our media library. And what you need to be aware of is over here on the right side, there is the title field. And the title field is actually going to be what the linked text will be when this lands on the page. So instead of this saying lorem-ipsum, instead I want it to be, undergraduate application for funding research projects. I'm just making things up. And so now I'll click insert into page, and you'll see after a brief moment, it appears, and there's that text that I applied. Now this works great if it's on its own line, but if I were to put this in mid-sentence or in mid-paragraph, so for example, I'll put my cursor there, same process, click Add Media, click the document. It does maintain the title that I applied to it, and then click Insert in a Page. That's probably not the most appropriate thing to have in the middle of a sentence. So what I would do now is click on the link, click the Edit icon, and then click on the Link Options icon over here at the right. And now what I want to do is I'll change the link text to something more appropriate. So download the application form for students and click Update. And now it's something a little more appropriate um, for my users. So this is how you would link to documents out of your um, media library. Now, the media library works good for linking to documents in this manner if those documents aren't updated on a regular basis. WordPress does not WordPress by default does not handle version history very well. And so what may happen is if you were to upload a new file with the same file name, it won't replace this particular file. All it does is it just adds a new file -1. So same file name -1. And you would have to go through break this link and then re-add the link to that particular updated document. So if you are going to find yourself um, linking to documents that update on a regular enough basis, what we would recommend is instead to get a box directory and link to those items out of a box file. So you can see right here, this is a link to a box document. This is a document that updates on a pretty regular basis. So I just use it out of box so that you can always get the most updated version of that file. So if you were to search the knowledge base, kb.wisc.edu, and search for something called box project directories, that is how you can get essentially what is a departmental box account, and then you can use that to make your files available and not have to worry about going in and re-updating the links or anything like that. You just put the link in there once, and it will always point at the most recent value for it. So that's how you link to documents, linking in general. So that is that. And now let's talk about how do you add images. So similar to linking to documents, you would put your cursor where you want that image to appear, and you would click on Add Media. You would choose the image that you want to appear on your page. So let's go with this one right here. Over here on the right, all of the various pieces of information that you can update. First and foremost, the alt text. There you go. The marching band performs during halftime of a home football game. The title. Now, titles are important because what a title does is it allows you to find things once you have really populated your media library. This is going to get um, a bit more difficult to just simply visually find things. So instead, what you can do is you can title things as such so that you can find them a little bit easier. So you can see the search searches the content of everything over here, and you can find things easier by just using keyword searches there. Below that, you have a caption option. You can put a caption if you want to. Whoops, didn't mean to hit that button. Or you can remove it if you so desire. Whoops, there we go. Um, this is up to you. You can edit this or remove it. If this is a photo that you are using from the campus photo library, it's a good idea to still give photo credit. So if you don't like the caption itself, I would still say use the photo credit aspect of it, just so you can give uh, the photographers the appropriate credit for this. Below that, you have a description field. You can use the description field to add in a little bit more information about this image. This also assists with search functionality. This also will apply a little bit more, a little bit more specific information about the image itself and apply it to what's called an attachment page. And we'll show what the attachment page is in a minute here. But again, it's not something that you need to use. It's just there if you want to take advantage of this. A link to copy the specific image. So if I wanted to view this image by itself, I could just put that image into there and link it and look at it that way. Okay. And then below that, you have some display setting options. So the alignment option, left, center, right, and none. None will be the default, but you can essentially float this image next to the text, either to the left or the right, or above the image, um, or above the text, I'm sorry. So I'll choose left, but essentially it's just you're choosing an alignment option: left, center, right, none. You can link this image. None again is the default, but you can link to the media file proper. So if this is a very large image, and you could see, this this image is a very large image. I don't want to display this full-sized image on the page, but it's a nice image. So I might want people to be able to see the full-sized image. So in that case, I would link to the media file. So that way you can see a thumbnail of the image or a smaller version of the image. But then when you click on it, you can let people see the fuller size and potentially download it. Um, you can link to the attachment page, and I said I would show you what the attachment page is. The attachment page is where that description field is displayed. Again, not something that you need to worry about using if you don't want to. Most of the time, I recommend just if there's some content that's relevant to the image itself, put it on the page so that people don't have to continue to click on links to or click on the image or anything like that to take them out of the content area. Just make it easy. Keep it all in one spot. And then lastly, a custom URL. You could link them out to a specific URL if you wanted to. And then below that, you have the size option. So when you upload an image, it will not only upload the full size of the image, but it will also automatically, WordPress will also automatically create several different versions of that image so that you have some more optimized choices for the images themselves. So, in this case, I'm going to stick with medium, maybe large. Now, full size image, you don't usually, and I don't know when you would want to, but you really don't want to use the full size of the image. One, because it's a very large image usually. Now, that's if you're uploading very large images. You might be uploading a smaller cropped image or a smaller edited image. Full size might be one of these values. You might be okay there. But in this case, you can see these dimensions are huge. I don't want to load the full size of this image. Also, full size not only loads the dimensions, it also loads the file size. And if I'm going to have 5, 6 more images on this page, I don't want to have too many because that will increase the load time for this particular page, and that's not a good user experience for my audience. So again, I would tend to stick with, medium, large, even thumbnail. Okay. So once we have those values set, I can click on insert into page, scroll this down a little bit, and there you'll see there's the image. If I click on it, you can see there's the caption. I can change the alignments if I want to. So I started with left, but actually, you know what? I think this will look better on the right side on this page. I can also click on edit, change any of these values that I want to, and click update down in the bottom there. And then I can also, I'll just do this left, I can also click and drag this to a new location if you so desire. So if I want to drag this up to here and make it a part of this section and float it over there to the right, and now I can click on save draft and preview. And here's all that stuff that I've been tinkering around with. So now we can go back over to the edit area and let's talk a little bit more about some of the things that can be done on your page. So at the left side, at the bottom of your text block, there's this apply UW box style checkbox. Now, this is the way that my page looks like right now. But if I wanted to, I could change up the formatting just a little bit by clicking on that apply UW box style value and then again, save draft and preview. And what you'll notice is it changes the way that this particular text block is displayed. So now I have this grayish background, a little more padding on the sides of this text block here, and then at the very bottom, um, this little red bar that got applied there. So really, this is just an option that's there for you to change up the, maybe the monotony of text block, text block, text block. You might want to go regular text block, apply UW style text block, and then regular text block underneath that, just to break up the way that it looks on your page. And again, just add a little more user experience to it, a little more visual engagement for your audience. Below that to the right, you have the add page element value. These page elements are the various ways that you can add additional content or different ways for the content to be displayed. So things like accordion panels, the faculty staff lists, the image carousels, text blocks, posts, like blogs, news articles, things like that. So all that stuff is accessed through this add page element value. And to get a demonstration of what all of them look like, you could go to our service page, again, wiscweb.wisc.edu, go under features and page elements, and we have them all demonstrated here. So again, if I take a look at accordion panels, not only can I see what it looks like by clicking on the little drop downs here, but we also have links out to our knowledge base documents that will walk you through how to use these various page elements. So something to consider as you're building your pages out. It doesn't have to be text block, text block, text block. It can be, accordion panel, text block, image gallery, however you want to sort of deliver that content to your audience. Below that to the right again is the add content layout. We talked about this a little bit at the beginning of this video, which is the 1, 2, and 3 column layouts. You add those, and then you can add the page elements on the fly as you see fit. You can add, again, you can add with the plus signs. You can also remove layouts by clicking on the minus sign there. Below that is the lower content area. This is essentially a hero image that appears at the bottom of a page. It's just there for you to use if you want to add one more visual engagement for your audience at the very bottom of the content. There is a revision history at the bottom, but we will chat about where you can also view the revisions in the publish area. And then lastly, the excerpt field. We already touched on the importance of this and what you should be using this for. If you don't have the excerpt field on, you can access it by going up to the Screen Options tab at the upper right and clicking on the checkbox for excerpt. So again, that's how you make it active or make it disappear, although I would really recommend keeping it visible so that you can edit it when you need to. So now the publishing options. We have been clicking Save Draft and Preview quite a bit. It is in a draft state, which means that I can see it as an editor. Other editors and other administrators of my site can see it, but it is not yet live for my audience. I can make it live for my audience by clicking on the Publish button. Once it's published, you'll see this status has changed to published. You'll get a different option up here at the top, which is preview changes. And the publish button is no longer publish, it is now update. Some other things to be aware of here. There are some visibility options. You want to leave this as public because you want your audience to be able to see it. And then in the revision history, if you click on browse there, this is where you can go to kind of go back in time and see what edits were made. So you can see I was tinkering around with, this is where I added, see the plus sign, I added the H2 and H3 values in there, removed some things, added some things. So that's what the revision history does, is it allows you to see who made the edits and what edits did they make. So just in case there's ever a whoopsie moment, you can always go back in time and restore a particular revision. And then there's the move to trash option right there. Oops, collapsing. Um, that's to delete it. Deletes it from view of your audience. Does not delete it entirely from the site. However, that is something that you could do if you so desire by going into the trash and deleting it permanently. And then lastly, there is the duplicate this option. So a lot of times, if you have built out a page that you really like and you want to use the same layout, the same sort of content structure that you have on this particular page, you can duplicate this content item and it will create an identical copy of that page. So you can see here, here's Yeti hunting, and then here's the duplicated one, Yeti hunting draft. So it puts it into a draft state. And then if we click on this one, there are a couple of things that you want to be aware of. So first and foremost, you'd want to change the title. It's a different page, give it an appropriate title. Next, well, the content will probably be different because you are adding the new information for this particular page. So go down and update the content as necessary. And then lastly, maybe not as obvious, is you would have to address the um, the permalink value right here. So now I did change this and I did save draft. There are times, however, when people have published this without changing this first, and so you'll have to click on edit and just update this permalink value to be the appropriate one. Now I didn't. I clicked the save draft before, and so it automatically did that step for me. So once I'm done making all of the edits I need to, I can publish this one as well. So that's how you create pages, and that's how you edit pages. You just click in the pages area, you click on the page itself, you go down, you make the changes, and you click update. So as I said earlier, pages are going to be the primary way that you're going to deliver your content to your audience. But there is one other content creation area that I do want to touch on just briefly because it is something that groups do um, talk about using from time to time, and that is the posts area. So when you think of posts, think of things like your news articles or blogs or announcements or even events. Even though we do have a plugin that is used for creating events, some people would rather just use the post functionality because it is a little simpler and it is a little more straightforward. So how posts work is you would go to your posts area by clicking over here on the left. You would click add new. This is very similar to what you've already seen with the creation of pages. You have a post title. You have a text block down here. Posts only get access to the text block page element. You don't get to add any others. And then you have your publish option up here on the upper right. So a couple of things to point out with for posts. Let me just get some text in here real quick just to have some placeholder stuff. And so one of the things to touch on, I'll sleeve draft real quick, is this news link section right here. So what you can do is you can use content that is posted from an external source. And the example that we usually use is news.wisc.edu. You might find an article out there that is relevant to your area. Maybe the UW Communications wrote up a nice article about something that was from your area. And so you can click on that link and grab that URL and just paste it right into there. And then from here, if you click Save Draft, now you can see I have my super fun post title. I have the text that I have put down here, although it's bugging out a little bit oddly. Um, but I also have the URL. So now I click Save Draft and I will click Preview. And what you'll notice is while up here in my breadcrumb trail, it does maintain my post title. The title that appears is not. It is the title that is pulled directly from the article that I am linking to. And also, whoops, also it pulls in the excerpt of that particular article. So this is something nice that you can do. You can create some content for your site by just copying and pasting a URL right into this section right here. And this works great when it works. This is not a guarantee that it's going to happen like this every time. So for example, let's try ls.wisc.edu. Let's try Letters and Science. They have a news section as well. And I will click on this one. So nope, that one went all the way to LS. I have to find one that is particular to ls. Here we go. So ls.wisc.edu/news. You can see that there's that URL. I will copy it. I will paste it, save draft, and preview. And so now what you'll see is it did not grab the post title, nor did it grab the brief text, the excerpt for it. It does link to it. But now what you can do is you can go out, you can grab this and put that in as your title, and then grab maybe the brief summary that's at the top, or maybe grab the first paragraph or so and put that in as your introductory um, text. You don't want to grab the entire article, copy it, and then paste it into your post, mainly because I really don't want anyone to ever get up against or get up close to being accused of plagiarism. You don't want to take something and create this assumption that you are the owner of it, you are the creator of it. So in this case, I've only taken a brief and I have linked to it, just a quick introduction to it, and now I have created a post that is in my site that people can use or that people can click on and then advance to the further article if they wanted to. So that's what the news link section does. And the other thing I want to touch on out of the post area is this idea right here, which is the categories idea. Now, what categories do is they allow you to essentially create silos for the content that you are creating. So to create a new category, you might say, health. This is in regards to coronavirus. So I might create that. And so now I've created a category called health. Now, if I publish this, it has the health category assigned to it. Now, what I can do is, and I'll use our Whisk website as the example of this, I might want on my main page all of the news articles to appear. So you can see here are we only show three, but here are the three most recent articles that we have um, posted. But on the training page, maybe I don't want to have the general news articles appear. I only want to have the ones that are categorized as training appear. And so now what I can do is I can um, use the category training, and I'll go ahead and click edit page so you can see this. I'll scroll on down. There it is. Sorry, I had it collapsed. So if you scroll down, the page element is the post listing. I talked about this earlier. And then the type is posts by categories. And I chose only the training one. And that's how I can now only display the content that is relevant to this particular page. And that's just a nice thing to consider when you are trying to really diversify the content within your site and create a better user experience. You might create a faculty category, and on your people page, you might display news about your faculty. Um, a resources page, news articles about resources. You might even just create a media page and have post listings for links to articles from, say, news.wisc.edu or other external sources. And you want to create some articles like that. So the post listing is a very good thing to use if you're going to be posting articles on a somewhat regular basis. You don't want to create, news articles or a news article section or a blog section and then, not update it on a frequent enough basis. So just, take that into consideration. The categories idea can also be used for other types of content creation. So again, for example, at our Whisk website, I have my events calendar down here in the lower right, and this will show all of our upcoming events. But on the training page, I want you to be aware of, what upcoming items might be up. So this is not the best example because unfortunately we have no events coming up right now. But you could have all of your my Open Labs over here on the right and all of my upcoming trainings over here on the left. So something to consider by using what are called event categories. The same is true for the people aspect of it. So faculty, staff members. So I'm going to use the School of Nursing as my example because they do have a very large staff and faculty list. But if I click on About and I go to their directory, this is their full directory list. But if you were to click on one of these links up here, you can see the way that they have used their categories. That's not the best one. Let's go to academic affairs. Less people in each category. But here's one category. Here's a second category. Here's a third category. And that's how they're using these faculty types, these faculty categories, to break up who you display on a page. So that's how you use the categories idea. So these are all things that if you have questions about, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or to our group. You can reach us at cms-support@doit.wisc.edu, or you can reach me directly at matt.goins, Goins, at wisc.edu. And I'd be more than happy to answer your questions. So that's it for this training video. Again, this training video was just to kind of show you how to create content using pages, also using posts. In the next training video, we will specifically talk about how do you now set a home page after you have created some pages? How do you set the landing page for your site? And then also, how do you create navigation? How do you create menus to move people through your site? So that will be in the next video. Until then, thank you. Take care.